In this lesson, we will learn how to use the port collection in FreeBSD. So in the previous lesson, you were learning how to download the port collection, how to install it on the system, and how to update it. I'm just going to recap this a bit quick right now. How, if you, for example, like if you don't have ports installed, then you just use port snap fetch extract. This command will download the ports and extract it to the system. If you already have ports and want to update it, you just change the extract to update. In my case, I have already installed ports and I have already updated it, so my port is up to date. However, you always want to run a port snap fetch and update before you install a port, because you want to make sure that you have the latest port collection. So to start with, what is this port collection that we are actually downloading? Basically, it's just a skeleton structure containing with folders that have a great category tree structure of different software categories, and then they are then when you dig down in the categories, you find the software of the port that you want to install, for example. And once we are inside the port, you will find a make file and you will find some other files into it. And when we are inside of that folder of the program you want to install, we can then run the make command and use some different options there, which will help us. It will install the program for us by compiling it from the source, and then also we can make some configuration to it, and then we can install it. Not to make a big confusion, I think we start by working as an example with it. I want to install an editor called Nano in this case, because I think it's a fairly small port to install, which will be good in this tutorial. So to start with, you find the port collection. If you go to if you check inside USR ports, I'm going to have a look into this, and I can see that there are some categories here: audio, games, for example. We have editors, we have X11 and all these things, and internet stuff, WW. And I want to go to the editor category, so let's go like this. We see the change directory to USR ports editor by running this command. So this changed the directory to this directory we are going to. And if I type ls, I can check what's inside. I can even do ls pipe more, which will help me to not get everything printed out directly. So I can just press return and continue to get more information as it flows on the screen. I press Q here just to close this view. Right now I'm sure that there is an editor here called Nano, so I just type cd nano. Now when I'm standing in the USR ports editor Nano directory, I'm able to type ls to check what's inside. And here I can see that there's a make file. This make file is used by the command make. I'm not going to run the command right now, because I think I will try to make an explanation of what this will do actually. I'm not going to get into the super details of this, because I think we are just going to cover the essentials that a person, an administrator, need to know that use FreeBSD. So if you want to go to more details, that can be checked up later. So we just take the basics here, which are important basics to be able to use the port collection. To be able to use this port, for example, to be able to install it, we need to use the make command. Please keep in mind that all the commands that I do right now are not the most efficient, not the best way to execute the commands. I just want to execute the commands in this way in the beginning, just to explain all the different steps here. I will show after this how I can install the same software by just using two commands, which are much easier to remember, and that will save us a lot of time also. So if I just, for example, want to build this program, the program itself does not live inside this directory. The program needs to be, the distribution files need to be downloaded. We need to make some configurations to it, and we need to compile it. So it's going from source code to binary, and then we need to install the binary into our system. That's the way it goes. And so to start with, we want to just compile this software right now. If I type make and press return, it's going to fetch all the necessary files, and it's going to ask us if we want, which configurations we want to have to our software. This will appear as dialogues. Keep in mind that when I just type the make command, the system fetches the files. It will try to compile a program, and the options, as I said, will arrive as they come. And this is not good, because if you have a lot of time in just sitting in front of the computer, then you can just keep an eye and answering the questions that arise to us. But in most cases, we know that compiling program takes time, and if we want to get the questions when they are coming, that's painful. It's much easier to get all the questions in the beginning, and I will show you how to get all the questions in the beginning later on. But first, we just take the questions as they arrive from the program. So these questions are options, by the way. I'm going to pause the video here until these options arrives. And here we have an option that arrived during the make process. So these options are actually they are components that we can enable or disable, or vice versa, disable or enable onto the software. For example, let's say in this case that, as you can see, we can either navigate, we can either select, deselect things here by, for example, let's say the documentation. This is the documentation of the software, and we have a native language support. You can just browse up and down with the arrow keys. Select and deselect is done by the spacebar, as you can see. And then you can either press return here because OK is pre-selected, or you can use the tab key to go to the OK and cancel button and then press return which one you want to select. And if I just press OK here, if I want these software components, as you can see, the make process is actually continuing, and the make process will be halted. It will be paused until we are answering the question. So that's the reason why I will show that how we can get all the options in the beginning instead, so we don't need to wait for an options to arrive and just pause the process, which is not efficient. If it happens. And the next question, the option here was arriving. As you can see, we can build with documentation of get text tools, and as you can see, they are just arriving as they are arriving. So that's what I'm trying to say, why this is painful to have this just typing make without, and we get all these options as they are arriving. It's not that easy. Alright, so if you're taking notes, I would say that you can write down in one place of the paper. You can write down like individual commands, and then you can just type that you have to go to the port that you want to install. Then you can type that, write down in a note that if you type make, it will fetch the distribution files, and it will also make the program by compiling it from source code, and then options of software components will arrive as they arrive. That's what you can write about the make command. So that's the first command that you would need to write down to run for building a port. And as I said, these notes that you're writing right now are the non-efficient way, which is the longer way to do this. So you can just write them down to have them and to analyze them later on to see which different steps were doing different things. And while this is building, I will press F9. I'm pressing F9. While this is building, I mean that I will pause the video, and I return it when this is done. And now our port has been created. So if I look into this directory right now, I find that we have a new directory called work. This is a temporary directory created by the port, which contains the files needed now since the creation of all these things. Now the port has been compiled, but it's not installed onto a system. If I type nano, I will not get any program running. So how to install the program is very simple. We are going to use the same make command, but we're going to use the option make install. This will install the compiled files. And there it's installed, and if I try to type nano right now, the program will run. That's all you need to know if you want to install a program, of course, but this was not the efficient, easy way to do it. Before I go into details how to install in the most easy way, we are going to cover how to uninstall a port also. So if I go back to the port menu, I am able to uninstall the program by just typing make deinstall. That's one way to do it. It will then remove the program from the system. But however, I told you about that there's a working directory here, which is a temporary directory. We want to clean up that directory after being installing a program, and that's done with the make clean command. So make clean will clear out the temporary folder there. So if I type make clean and have a look here, it will remove the compiled things there. This doesn't mean that it will uninstall it from the system, it just clean up the temporary files. So if I type ls, you can see the work directory is gone. And what more to cover? We can write down some notes now. So let's make an analyze here. In your notes about the individual commands, you can type that the make will, that as you wrote down before, that will fetch the distribution file and compile the port. And options will arrive, of course, if there are any options, which are configurations, by the way. And if you want to install it, you just type make install. And if you want to deinstall it, you can type deinstall, and you need to stand in the port folder, of course. And if you want to clean up after the compilation and installation, you can just type make clean. And now when the port is installed, you will also find it by using the pkg command. So if you type pkg info, you should be able to find the nano editor there. You can also delete the port by typing pkg delete nano, and then you can select yes there if you want to delete it. And then you can of course run pkg auto remove to remove all the dependencies that are not longer needed. The command, by the way, was pkg auto remove to remove the dependencies, and pkg delete followed by the name of the package to delete the individual program installed. However, this was the way to install the ports by individual commands. We can push all the commands together, make it a lot easier. So we take everything from beginning right now. So to start with, I'm going to reset my machine to get it from the beginning state. I'm going to make sure that I remove all the things here. I'm not going to reset the machine, but I'm going to remove the ports here that I was working with. Okay. So right now, imagine that I'm standing in the port that I want to install right now. The first thing was that I was running this command, make, and then the options were arriving as they arrived. I want to answer all the options in the beginning before I compile the program. So how can I do this? There is a command called make config recursive. This command will bring up all the options dialog that are available and needed to compile a port, and then we can answer all the options before we compile it, which is much more efficient. So if I run this, I will get all the questions up of the options I want to have, of the configuration, and then I can just answer them, as you can see. And when these are answered, then I can just begin installing the program. So if I want to compile, install, and clean the installation, I can do this with one command only, which is very simple. So after making the configurations, I can type make install clean. But before we install it, let's say that I make a mistake. Let's say that I was thinking, whoops, I didn't select an options that I wanted, or I wanted another option. Then I can type make, and let's see here, make rm config. This will delete the configuration. So the options I was selecting, I can delete them all by this command. So then we can run the command make config recursive again, and then I'm able to answer the question one more time and to make the changes that I might wanted to do. So that's how you do if you want to remove the old configurations set up of that port and you want to make them again with the config recursive. So now we've been answering the questions, the options, and we want to install the software and then just clean it up afterward. And that was done with this easy command. So so this is a command to remember, very good. Make install clean. What this does is that it will run the make command, it will run the make install command, it will run the make clean command. So they will all arrive in a sequence as they should, of course. So if I press return here now, it will then make the program, and then it will install it for us, and then after it's installed, it will clean up the old files, the temporary files that were in use. I'm going to pause here and we continue forward when when this is done. And now I was getting the port compiled and installed without making more than that. So if I type nano, I'm getting the program up and running, it works. And if I type ls here, you can see that there is no working directory because the work directory has been removed by the clean command. There are some things that I want to point out here, that before there were two dialogues appearing, and when I was typing this command, which is, let's see here, the make config recursive, I was just getting one of them. And that can be because I already installed the ports before, and that must be that the dependency has already been installed and the dependency were not removed, which was the getText, or the thing, something like that, I believe. Else, if I were typing the make config recursive, I would have been getting the both, because that should give recursively all the options that we need for dependencies also. Something I read in the FreeBSD documentation is that you can run make configuration a couple of times to be able to see so there are no more options arriving from dependencies. So well, I guess that you can run this command a few times just to make sure that there are no more dependencies that are arriving. But I really believe that you need to run this command only once, to be honest. Okay, so that was not hard. So let's take some notes right now, and we type down the necessary things to gather all the information we need, the basic information for the port. So to start with, to get the ports, you just type portsnap fetch extract. This will download portsnap, a snapshot of the port collection compressed, and it extracts them onto a local file system, so we get the port collections. If we already have the ports, then we can just use ports.fetch update, which will update the port collection for us. Once this is done, we can go to the port that we want to install, and when we are inside the port, we can just use the command make config recursive, and this will bring up the options that we need to answer before we compile the program and install it. And then after this is done, we can use the command make install clean, which push all the commands together, so we don't need to type them individually. So then we are just using this command. It will make the program, it will install the program when it's made, and it will clean up the temporary files when it's done. If you want to delete the port, you can either use make deinstall when you're standing in the port tree of the desired port to remove, or you can use the pkg, as we covered before, pkg tool. You can use pkg info to see which programs are installed. You can use pkg delete nano to delete the nano editor, and like this. And you can use pkg order remove to clean up unused dependencies on the system, if you want to make a nice cleanup there, like this. And that's how you do, and that's how you use the port collection as its basics. And it's not harder than that, and ports brings us a lot of flexibility, as you can see. So that's everything that we need to cover there, and I will add another video in case I find more advanced cleanups and things like this. If you want to update port, I really recommend that you read the documentation of FreeBSD ports, because then you can use a utility called Port Master, which is very easy to use. I can just show you how it works. If I just use pkg install port master, I will not cover it right here, but I'm going to just show you how it would work. Okay, let's see if this will work then. If I use port master, did this work by the way? I think it did. Port master L, I'm able to list if there are versions to update. We can see that there are 3 total installed ports. There are no new versions available. I would say that if you want to use Port Master, feel free to check it out on the FreeBSD documentation, which you will find on the freebsd.org website, and you can read more about it. So we don't make the port installation tutorial more advanced than this, and I might add an update video, but it's really difficult to make a practical video of updating ports, since I need to install ports and then get it outdated and then make a tutorial when it's to update it. But it shouldn't be hard to use the port master, so just refer to the documentation in that case. Alright, I hope we could make the port collection a bit clear, and I hope that you find it useful, and thank you for watching.